I think that Christianity is demeaning to human beings. It says that the only value we have is because we are created by a God. God gives us this meaning. We don't have intrinsic worth. And the atheist would say we do have intrinsic worth. We can give it to ourselves, and that is perfectly valid. Oh, back the truck up here for a second. The atheist says that we have intrinsic worth. We at base are matter in motion. Where does this intrinsic worth come from? He says, well, we can give it to ourselves, and that's perfectly valid. That's not an answer. He's being arbitrary. He's just assuming that it could just be out there and it's something we should live for, when really at base, that's just chemicals going off in his brain. There's no reason why that has to be true. He wants it to be true. I don't deny that, but that doesn't make it so. You can't just arbitrarily assume something to be correct, and then therefore it is. He says, well, Christianity is demeaning to human beings. Christianity is the only worldview that adequately gives meaning to human beings. God is the very creator of the world. He created human beings in his image. He is the infinite source of worth. We derive our worth from him. And that is demeaning? You think it's more meaningful to come from pond scum over a process that has no values in it whatsoever? Again, the inconsistency. So the conclusion is very obvious. Good and evil do not exist in the atheistic evolutionary worldview. Now, I don't deny you want them to exist. You want good and evil to exist, but in your worldview, logically, it is not reality. It's an illusion in your head. And Michael Ruse admits this. He says, logically, there is no demand by Darwinism that we be moral. That's why he concludes to say morality, or more strictly, our belief in morality, is merely an adaptation put in place to further our reproductive ends. Ethics, as we understand it, is an illusion fobbed off on us by our genes to get us to cooperate. So again, all the stuff he was bringing up, that we should reform society and fight for all of these issues that have meaning, is all an illusion. It's not reality. Another quote by August, he says, an atheist possesses clarity in his or her thinking processes. We are able to identify those things for which we have evidence and separate them from other things that are merely wishful thinking. Yet in his worldview, he has zero evidence to account for things being good and evil. He can't do it. When he acts like there is, he is then doing the very thing he doesn't like, and that is wishful thinking. In the same article, he says, another benefit of atheism is that it is contradiction-free. We don't have to try to reconcile an all-loving, all-seeing, all-powerful God with the existence of evil. Yet within these two sentences, he already contradicts himself. He says atheism has no contradictions. Then he goes on to assume a priori from the start that evil just somehow is a real thing. It's just out there somewhere. Yet he has no basis by which to believe that is true. It's just an illusion, chemicals going off in his brain. So right there you have, again, a contradiction. This is where the atheist stands in morality. No foundation whatsoever to live morally. Does that mean they don't live morally? No, I don't claim that at all. A lot of atheists live pretty good moral lives. But that's because they're standing on Christian ground. They're not standing on atheistic ground. You see, the atheist wants there to be meaning in this world. It wants there to be purpose, like for August to get up and to fight for causes like slavery and homosexuality and all of these things. Like it's a good goal to do that stuff. All of that is founded upon the Christian worldview, that there is meaning in life. There's a reason to live, ultimately. Yet that is in contradiction to his worldview. So when he says things like, another benefit of atheism is contradiction-free, atheism is the ultimate contradiction. You stand in a worldview you don't like, and then you draw a line in that worldview and say, nope, this is secular ground. We're going to stand up for reforming society. We need to have empathy within society. We want to reduce harm with other humans, things like that. That's supposedly their ethics. And then they want to take those ethics and blow up the Christian worldview. They want to borrow from God to refute God. I'm sorry, you can't do that. That's a contradiction. So I find it kind of interesting that on KCAMS Live, August says, my opinion is that the atheists have already won. We've already won the intellectual war, and now we just have to let everyone know that we have. But the truth is, in atheism, you not only have not won the war, you can't even account for there being a war. What do you have in an intellectual war? You have two sides, at least two, that differ. Apparently one is right, one is wrong. He is the atheist, he's right, I'm a Christian, I'm wrong. He's won, now he's here to explain it all to you, so then you can be atheist. Yet in all of this is nothing but matter in motion. Chemicals going off in our brain, chemicals going off in all of your brains. There's no war. There's no difference, really, between him and I. It's just matter going off and connecting in our brain. That's it. And so, not only, August here, when he came through the door, we'll walk down to debate, I'm sure things are running through his mind of how he's going to present his case, how he's going to be influential to you. But one of the things he didn't know is that when he walked through the door, he had already lost. And he didn't even know it. He came through the door assuming this topic has value. He should debate it, he should write pamphlets, he should start a website for trying to account for good existing in this world without God. And yet his entire worldview cannot even account for this topic having meaning. Or for why he should expend all of this energy, which ultimately reduces to nothing in the result, to come here tonight. And so not only can August not account for good without God, he can't even account for showing up here tonight. It's the ultimate contradiction. This is where he stands. He stands, and all atheists stand if their worldview is true. Now, I bet as this debate continues, and as August goes home and goes to bed and he gets up and he does whatever he does, radio shows, new pamphlet, maybe it's about this topic, or interchange, whatever it may be, all of that, he is living on Christian ground. He is standing on the very values that he derives from God, and yet he doesn't want to admit it. He is, at base, a walking contradiction. Thank you.
I'm sure you have 10 minutes.
Well, John, I appreciate that you're such a student of my work. I wish you had given the full quote that I gave on KKMS. I said, atheists have won the intellectual war. We haven't won the emotional war. We haven't won the political war. But we have won the intellectual war, and I'm here to spread the good news. Well, this is actually not a debate about the existence of God. For all I know, God may exist, though I have no reason to believe that one does. This is a debate about whether we can derive ethics from a God. Now, John makes the assertion, quote, God is the standard of right and wrong. Then he says, we cannot comprehend God. My friends, the debate is over. I've won. I've made my point. But let's continue. John miscategorizes evolution as being an entirely chance process. Well, mutation is chance, but natural selection is not chance. It's not random. He says, why bother to do anything? Well, if this, maybe, I don't think he said this part, but if this life is all there is, why bother to do anything? Well, if you only get a chance to go to Paris once in your life and you can never go back, do you not go? Well, of course you go. You go and enjoy it. And that's how atheists view life. It's our one shot. We're enjoying it while we're here. We're glad we're here. It's going to end. Well, it's too bad. We don't see any way out of that. But we enjoy it while we're here. There's no reason not to. We have concerns. He asked why we have concerns. We have concerns because nature favored beings that cared about their own lives. If you didn't care, you're out of the gene pool. Now, although the universe may not care about us, that's true. The universe has no consciousness, universe doesn't care if we're here or not, Earth doesn't care if we're here or not. It's quite fine to arbitrarily give ourselves meaning and purpose and value in life. Yes, it's arbitrary. We could choose to maybe value the life of a lion above our own lives, and in that case, if we met a hungry lion, if we valued their life more than ours, we'd have to sacrifice ourselves to the lion so the lion could eat us. But nature, the forces of evolution didn't design us that way. It designed us to have a sense of self-preservation. That's how species make it. Those species that don't have a strong sense don't make it. They're out of gene pool. Now finally, John says that I have zero evidence for what I presented in my opening statement. We have evidence of evolution. I didn't go into that because this is not really a big debate about evolution, but there's plenty of evidence for that. I did give evidence of morality, cooperation, and justice in other animals besides humans. I gave evidence of how we weigh competing values in judging consequences. And I gave evidence of mirror neurons supplying empathy, which enhances our ability and drive to cooperate with other people. So really, I don't see that he refuted anything that I said in my opening statement. I don't see that he made any case at all with any sort of evidence for the assertions that he made. Thank you.
Mr. Kaus, you have 19 minutes. Folks, when we move into question and answer, I'll have you come down this way. We don't have the one microphone to work with, so I'll kind of shuttle back and forth to get your questions so everyone can hear them, including whomever you're answering.
All right. Well, I'd like to address a number of things that he brought up in his intro and also in his rebuttal. And the first is this kind of fallback that everyone has, most people have, about morality. And that is, morality is just relative. We just kind of decide for ourselves what is right and what is wrong, and that's just how it is. But if that is true, if we just decide whatever we want individually to be right and wrong, then morality itself reduces to absurdity. If truth is relative, then no one is ever wrong, even when they are. Think about that. As long as something is true to me, then I'm right, even when I'm wrong. You can never be wrong if moral relativism is true. If we all just decide individually what is right and what is wrong, we never have wrong beliefs, ever. Which means that we can't really learn anything about morality either, because learning is going from a false belief to a true belief. But you don't do that if relativism is true. You just go from a belief to a belief to a belief to a belief. Doesn't matter what you wanted to believe before to what you believe now. There's ultimately no difference. It's all true. Why? Because you believe it. If that is the case, there's two very important questions that we need to answer for everyone in this room. What's the point of debating? Number one. If I can just define whatever I believe arbitrarily, as he said he arbitrarily believes for meaning in life and morality. But we can just do that arbitrarily, and there's no debate. I can just define the debate in a certain way where I win. He can define it in a certain way where he wins. And ultimately, we're both right. Why? Because it's our own beliefs. That's it. There's no debate. Midway through, he could become the Christian, and I could become the atheist. We can start doing different points, and it wouldn't matter. Why? Because it's our belief. By default, then it's true. Which means debating does not make any sense if you wasted time to come here. Number two, if you're a relativist in the audience, why would you show up? Did you come to learn something that was maybe more right when you leave than when you had before? You see, if relativism is true, whatever you believed prior to this debate, or whatever you believe, maybe it's in contrary to that, when you leave the debate, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. You could be an atheist, become a Christian. Be a Christian, become an atheist. It's the same. There's no difference. And yet you did come to this